And a big hey now to you guys out there. Happy holiday weekend. People trying to recover over the last few days from U.S. Thanksgiving. Getting ready to head back into work on Monday and get all with it. So this is just a update on the old T-Share report and where we are with the T-Share rates. So very interesting. Not a lot going on chain right now. Things are very quiet. I do wonder if it's the quiet before the storm. Let's get some stuff shared out to you who are here watching. All right. All right. So I do something called tracked volume. What does that mean? I have a collection of select pairs, mostly the big cores, right? Everything that I need to kind of gauge what's going on. So it's not the full picture of all volume on chain on Pulsechain right now, but just taking a quick look. Normally, I would expect these volumes and the activity to be 3 to 4 times higher than they currently are. Right, so things are pretty quiet. I think overall my tracked volume is around 4 million in the last 24 hours. You can see up here on the top left the primary pairs that are getting movement, which are always the pairs that get movement. The Pulse EDI, Pulse EUSDC, HEX Pulse, Wrapped ETH Pulse, the real one. Those are the ones that we see the majority of the volume on, right? Big liquidity pairs. So around 2 million in the top 10 over there, which is pretty low. That's pretty low. Again, calm before the storm. I don't know. Maybe. I see Johnny out there. Mexican lost in Asia. Good to see you guys. Yeah, so things are kind of going along. I know people are feeling it, right? Because they're not taking actions. I guess it's normal for it to be a little quiet on holiday type of a weekend like this, but this seems a little bit more quiet than normal. All right, let's move over to go look at our T-Share rates. Okay, so we have been talking about the potential for increases in rates. We're not seeing any action. There's 2 wallets. One is definitely an original OA wallet. There's another one with several stakes that were coming out. I don't know who the user is, but because they haven't taken any action, those have not been ended, and therefore we have not seen the rate increase. But you can see very little tiny increases over here on the chart. Because what's happening is very slowly the rate will creep up as new stakes come in and are made and ended that are short. And so it'll never stay flat, but our look ahead all the way out to March, 30-day gets flat, 60 days flat, 90-day is flat, the 120-day, which gets us into March, that's where we'll start to begin to see activity. If those stakes do not end. And then as we look out further into 2026, you see this time frame right here at the beginning of April, the end of March. All of a sudden, our T-Share rates will start to come back up. And at any time, if those previous stakes are ended, it may go up sooner. So there's going to be a little bit of reprieve here for people to get T-shares at a cheaper HEX price for a while. That's my assessment at the moment. I see Bitfinesse and Schiller's here. Richard Schiller. Woo. Oh, damn. Retrostatic, good to see you. Good to see you. So things have been pretty quiet on this the whole T-share rate end of things. Let's go look. HEX has continued to operate immutable as expected. It's just doing its normal thing. It doesn't require anyone other than the users to interact. They control everything, so they're doing their thing. Our models look very similar week after week because these numbers don't change that quickly. It takes time for the rate to move. But long term, right, we will just continue to see this climb upward until about 2030, and then the rate of climb will kind of level out. And that's a repercussion from the OA doing the big staking. By 2030, most, if not all, I guess there'll still be some Quattrocincos that will be out there that will have higher share rate increases overall. But by then, those stakes that have gotten the greatest amount of reward will be ended, right? So then we start seeing a flattening out and a plateauing of the share rate at this time. Right, all this can change. It's way in the future, right? So it's way out there. If we go look at our drawdown, what we've seen over the last 30 days, we're continuing to see similar rates where on the Ethereum side, we're not creating as many T-shares, and that's why that payout is just a little bit higher. We're seeing a 47% drawdown in the last 30 days. That just simply means that about half of the T-shares have not been recreated. On the Pulsechain side, it's always runs a little bit different. We get more T-shares over there as there is more activity. So we're just at minus 32%. So what does that mean? 125,000 roughly T-shares ended, but only 84,000 were created. And that's a net of about minus 32%. And so that kind of sets us up for what might happen in the next 30 days. We're probably will see a reduction in somewhere around 45,000 T-shares. But, the users get to choose that, so they may make the change, right? They may do more than we're expecting. Looking at the T-share count, again, always hard to see it on the full chart, so I'll zoom in. But you look over here to the right-hand side, you can see just the OA staking, bring the T-shares way up, and now we're just slowly coming down. So if we go take a look into 2025, right around this period, you can see the normal kind of drawdown of T-shares over time. That's why we do, while they're not strictly deflationary, the deflationary effect is always in play. And so unless somebody comes in and does a lot of staking with a tremendous amount of HEX, and who would be able to do that, right? There's only a few possibilities out there. The OA has already done its thing. So then it's users themselves with HEX. They could stake it up and create more T-shares, but they typically, it would require so much HEX. It's just not going to change this stat and how we're going with it. So it will just continue to go down. And yeah. So I'm reading the chat here. Yeah, we'll have to pull up the chicken wing chart. I have it up. Let me go look and see what chicken wings are. Let me go look at that one. Oh, let's see here. All right. At least for those who are HEX believers, the opportunity is still there. Give this a moment to load up. I did not preload it. The opportunity is still there. We just do not have Quattrocinco staking in any great number happening way out here in 2041. And that's on both the EX and the PHEX. So we have this huge amount of T-shares that will end out there, and then there are no new ones made yet. Very few. We'll look at that. Taking a look at the Quattrocinco stakes made, at least on the Pulsechain side. So November has been pretty, a little bit higher number, I guess that's what I'd say, 1,250-ish new T-shares created in November going out Quattrocinco. And so that gives us an idea of what kind of demand. Usually it's about 100 wallets or so, 130 wallets that are making this Quattrocincos. If we look at the total number of stakes that were created, it looks like about 83,000 T-shares were created. A lot of these are short-term stakes, so they come in and out. That's why I look at those long-term ones. Payouts, nothing really to see here on the bigger chart because they're going to be pretty flat, right? Running somewhere in that 1.5 to 1.6 range. So I expect this to be fairly stable in this way over time as we see it go up. We look at that payout long term, and we get rid of all the clutter. Bring it back down here. We can kind of see the shape of this curve and what this may look like. So we'll just see more HEX being minted. Let's do, probably should have just done it this way. I'll just do today's date. All right, just looking at what the rate may look like. You see the payout coming up over time, predicted. Forecast being we get out into 2030, a pretty big increase from 168 to 182. Doesn't seem like a lot to us if you were here when we were getting 6 or 7 HEX per T-share. But yeah, this is what the shape of this looks like as we go into the future. We'll definitely be watching to see what the OA does on each of its stakes when they come out, and whether or not that affects the system. For those who may not know, right, HEX has an inflation rate of 3.69%. However, the supply does not necessarily increase. The circulating supply doesn't necessarily increase. 3.69%. People have to, HEX has to be minted, and if HEX is minted, the HEX, there's a constant, you might call it that, or a number you multiply the amount of HEX that's ever been minted by, and that's the inflation. The inflation is sent to stakers only, and it's not sent as liquid HEX. So people have to actually end their stakes for the stake, for what we're going to count them for any HEX to be minted. In the case of ending a stake, I guess it's self-explanatory. All the HEX gets minted. Some of it might go to penalties, but all the HEX gets minted at that time, and then the payout goes up. So the higher the higher the number of HEX in existence, the greater the payout. And then there's kind of like this edge case when somebody does good account at stake, and there are penalties. There are mints that come from that potentially, right? Because if there are penalties, half the penalties go to the OA, and that is in the form of minted HEX. And because it's minted, it also increases the payout. But yeah, I mean, we've been looking at these week over week. They'll change, by little tiny fractions, but the system is kind of rigged for battle, meaning it's there's not a lot of change that's going to take place. So you can count on the APRs and the share rate being in a range that we'll see continuously. Average stake lengths, same old, right? 9.1, 9.2 on Pulsechain, 9.1 years on Ethereum. For those who don't follow this directly or know much about it, this is the average stake length of open stakes, and so that means that those are in existence are the only ones that are counted, right? So the average is always very, very high. But when we look at the created stakes. You can see them down here. You know, get a little bit of downtrend on both of them, but short term up a little bit with 4.2 years on the HEX side and 3.4 years on the PHEX. So we're the Pulsechain side. And then looking at 2040 or later, you can see the lineup. We're hitting right around just below. Looks like just below 2,000 T-shares per month. Probably something closer if I did an actual average. It might be something like 1.5. But I didn't put an average on here. We can see up here in April of 2040, the OA stake ending that's out there, or stakes ending that are out there. And then after that, there really just aren't any T-shares. So for you people who will be around and plan to be around, this is crypto is always a risk, but this is a little bit of asymmetrical risk reward, right? Because only those of us who have T-shares out in 2040, 2041 have that opportunity right at the moment. Now, what does the OA do? I don't know. Maybe the OA comes in here in March and they restake for Quattro Cinco. I don't know. Never say never. But in the meantime, these people who are staking today are getting the lowest rates that they can in terms of HEX to get T-shares out here in this period of time. Let's check and see. We got questions out here. I'm going to do the chicken wing. Oh, yeah, let's see. The chicken wing chart maximum in notation of 369%. Yeah, 3.69%. Yeah, Johnny's always better with the wording. I see you effortless it. Dynamic deferred inflationary model. Woo-hoo. Yeah, so everything's going as expected with HEX. I mean, I think some of us would like better pricing. So let's see if the Pulse chain chicken wing chart is up and running. I don't know. I haven't looked at it to see. Someday I expect to be able to use this Pulse Road to 10,000x chart. I have this up here right now. We're not there. You can see, you know, just very, very high level, at least from my perspective. You know, we're at all-time lows on Pulse. Depends, I guess, how you want to measure it. You got plenty of room to grow 10,000x. Plenty of room. Let's see, do I even have chicken wing? I may not have the chicken wing chart. Oh, here it is. Here it is. All right. Boom. All right. So let's see. We have, what date is this? Yep, November 25th. All right. So just looking at the chicken wing chart, this was for fun early on. You know, how much pulse would you need to you know, would you need to purchase a order of chicken wings in the U.S. and Mexico? I haven't updated the price. I bet you it's more expensive for an order of chicken wings than it is now. But anyways, using the July 2023 commodities pricing, it was about $10 on average for an order of chicken wings. And we were way down here where an order of chicken wings would just be in the US about 83,000 pulse. And that price has skyrocketed now. You need almost, you need over 500,000 pulse at this point to procure chicken wings. While we're here, let's take a look at the staker charts and see what they look like. Looks like a data anomaly here. I think this is an old one that was using some data from HEX daily stats, but you can see a continuous downtrend here in the number of stakers. It's not significant, I guess, but it does just come down. So Somebody might be able to double check these numbers for me elsewhere, but on the Ethereum side, I show 115,000 wallets, and on Pulsechain side, 122,000 HEX holders. Holders continue to go up on Pulsechain pretty dramatically. Not so much on the Ethereum side. Looks like it's curling over a little bit. So what does this mean? It means people have HEX in wallets, right? There's more wallets with HEX in it than there were before. So what does that mean to us? I don't know. I don't know really. I mean, it is it's hard to say even what the average user would have in terms of number of wallets, right? We have so many different things going on. People have multiple wallets. They might have 10, 20, 15. Though I think the OG stakers typically kind of stuck to one or two wallets. Might be what we would have seen there. What else we got? Let's see what our T-share costs. T-share costs are way down, boy. Woo. So my guesstimate is $50 on the Ethereum side, about $165 on the Pulsechain side. And remember, back in the day, right, it was almost $10,000. It was a whole. It was pretty expensive at one point to when we were up towards the highs for that. Penalties. This is cumulative, so this is the ongoing penalties. We did have that big event, of course, with the some people call it the Richard Hart FUD on HEX, right? We had all these emergency end stakes that happened back in 2024, which changed the curve, but they generally follow, even though it's greater on the Ethereum side, follow in the upwards direction, of course. Very similar because people have stakes on both sides, and so we see that with the penalties. There's our base is way down here now. This is our base payout per T-share. And if we go 4/1/2025, let's see what that looks like. All right, so you can see, this is scaled a little weird, but because I put the data in up here, but you can just see that it is going up. The base payout is going up on both chains, ever so slightly. Again, the way we see it may not be how it may not seem like an awful lot. Let's go to we get the chart. Couple days, so it's going to be the 6-year anniversary. Oh. Of HEX and its birthday. And so we could see way in the beginning how it came up. We had the big payday event, and then we got into that 5 range, and then we just slowly creeped up, right, in terms of payout. And again, it's following the amount of HEX that's been minted. The OA did its big stakes back here in February, March, and boom, payouts down here 1.5, 1.6, and then we'll just expect to see it slowly climb up in the future. All right, I wanted to look real quick at these share rate changes and see what's happening over here. So it's not that we haven't had share rate changes. We have, right? They're happening almost every day. If we take a look at the different addresses that have created the new rates, so they're here, and we have the largest one up here at the top. But let's go ahead and put it in order by date. See that last one. So we did have a change yesterday take place on the Pulsechain side. Just give you an idea of the type of stakes that actually make the changes. And this is where the system is, and this is what Johnny was referring to a moment ago. It's where the system always makes the T-shares more expensive. It makes them more expensive in terms of HEX. And so how does it do that is when somebody ends a stake, it does a calculation to make sure that even if you restaked everything, your rewards plus your principal for the same number of days, you can't get the same number of T-shares, right? And so it ratchets that rate up. Now, early on, a lot of us thought a lot of different things about what was going to cause a change and blah, blah, blah. You know, and people often make the mistake of thinking that only big stakes make changes. And that's not the case, right? So little stakes can make changes too. In fact, you can see right here that we had the last change was a 52,000 HEX stake and change for 3 days, and it increased the rate 4.6. Before that, I'm assuming I'm capturing all the right ones here, but before that, 50,000 created a 12 change. Before that, a 10 HEX stake. Like, who's even doing this? I don't even know. I feel like it's automated. There must be somebody doing something with the system to make this happen. But I mean, somebody staked 10 HEX for 2 days, and it increased the share rate 1.3 HEX. So you see all sorts of different things happening because it's math, right? And it doesn't know whether you did a big stake or a small stake. It doesn't care, right? So it just does the calculations, and off you go. So you have all sorts of stakes making changes. You know, sometimes you'll see, you know, like on the 24th, we had 2 in a row, depending on the timing, right? If you were unstaking that day and you restaked, you actually got a better price than the person that came in after the second change, and so on and so forth. You'll see that on multiple days. We see those kinds of things happen. 2 for the 20th, 2 for the 13th, you know, so on and so forth. So fun with numbers, fun with numbers. And then when we go look at what I was thinking would be the 45,000 change, let's go to the log. So this address here, which you can't see this really well, I apologize for my screen being screwed up here, but I have the 7B6 address listed here, which could had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stakes, right? Ending, I don't believe that is an original OA address. I don't know if it is OA related or you know, Godwell related, but any of those stakes, if ended, would boost the rates up. I don't see that they're good counted yet. They might be, you know, depending on if my data is a little slow. So I do expect that people will come in here and good account these, if nothing else, for the calm bounty that you get for doing good accounting. So if nothing else, I would expect that to happen. We do have an OA labeled stake that also had hit expiration a couple days ago, but it has not been ended. And so what happens if these guys don't end? Well, then what we get is the next one in line that comes out in March 19th of 2026 will bring it up to 45,000. If that one doesn't go, then the next one will bring it up to 45,000 on the 21st, and then we have a whole bunch on the 22nd, 3 on the 22nd, 3 on the 23rd. So you have a little bit of reprieve before that T-share rate would go up if those stakes do not get ended. It's kind of curious that that we didn't see the OA take action, right? So I don't know if that's I don't know if anybody else thinks what anybody else thinks about that. I don't know if that means that don't expect to see the OA do that, you know, or maybe they're not going to take any action in March, but we'll see. All right, I see Finn Bear. Hey Finn, how you doing, dude? Long time, been a long time. Yep, Johnny saying, overall the system has been reset. It's really, it really has been. I kind of backed into this where I was like, well, if HEX has a 15-year cycle and we're 1/3 through, I guess that pretty much underscored the fact that the people who were in for the first 5 years, the first third, get the greatest amount of HEX rewarded to them. It kind of makes sense. And now we're into phase 2, or part 2, or second third, and off we go. All right, Johnny's got some other comments in here. Yeah. Basically, 2 halvings have occurred. There's definitely a reduction in new coins. It'll take some time for that to affect the market entirely, and then finally, but T-shares grow stronger. They do. ASICs become obsolete and less productive. And I see you out there, Dukaboos. Yeah. So again, things pretty quiet, pretty low volume. Prices kind of going sideways at the moment. A lot of people are speculating on what will happen with the ProveX. I think we hit a day or two the end of the best rate that you can get. And so then there's a lot of speculation, about what might happen after that. And so we'll see what ProveX does, and then crypto in general may be pretty quiet for the next month or two. I guess we'll see. Maybe there'll be a Santa Claus rally. I don't know. All right. Well, I think that's it for me today, my friends. I don't think there's a lot more to cover at this time. I've been doing some streaming and talking about the some of the derivative markets, what I call the bond market, on actuator.finance. That's going on. We do continue to see new growth with new projects and such coming out, not usually directly related to HEX, but some may be related to HEX as we go forward. We'll try to report on those. And otherwise, you guys have a great weekend and stay crispy, and we'll see you. We'll see you at the next one.
Yo, T, urgent HEX buy signal. Charts flaming hot.
Golden ratio, huh? That's how legends stack T-shares.
Get them while they're crispy, folks. This window won't stay open long.
Stake smart. Win big. Time rewards those who act.
Stay crispy, Hexicans.
You gotta move it, move it. Feel the rhythm of the blockchain.